Gotta get my life in order, right? Like it has to happen. I feel another one coming on. Sorry. Excuse me. I just had to get that thing out. Anyway, hi guys, and welcome to It's All Relative with your girl Sherelle, aka Relly. So, here at Relly's World, we're embarking on a journey of self-discovery, resilience, and growth. I'm going to share stories and insights to inspire meaningful conversation about life, relationships, and happiness. And together, we'll explore the depths of the human experience and uncover our interconnectedness. Thank you for joining me on this adventure. Hey now, hey, all right now. So listen. What y'all do this weekend? I didn't do anything. Like, I stayed on the inside of the house on Saturday because it was raining and carrying on, and I ain't got no business being outside because brown sugar melts in the rain. Okay, no, in all seriousness, I didn't really do too much. But on Sunday, we went to a food truck festival, and I was looking forward to this food truck festival, and it's called Famous Food Festival or whatever. It was in Long Island. It was 2.5 hours away, and let me tell you something. Here's what had happened. It wasn't that great. Like, I wasn't into it all that much, and I was like a little bit of a Karen. Okay, maybe a lot of a Karen, I don't know, but anyway, right? Like, there was an Asian family in front of me. There was a Caucasian friend group behind me, and then behind them was a Latina group. And then this woman and her man came over and tried to like cut the line. No, can't do it. Not gonna have it. And so the Latina, I saw what was going on, and the Latina lady was like, hey, like, excuse me, like, there's a line over here. And so the lady was like, like, she was like, wow, you just gonna have to deal with it. And something on the inside bothered me, right? Like, something about that bothered me. I didn't really care so much that she was cutting, because she wasn't gonna cut me, so like, whatever. But she was real nasty with it. So y'all know what I did. Excuse me, security, please. Get these two, this one and that one, please. They done cut the line. And, I just feel like I'm out here, uniting, people, you know what I'm saying? I am bringing about unity because everybody in the line joined together with me and was like, yep, she's right. So maybe I was a Karen, I don't know, but lady had a nasty attitude, and I don't like that. I don't like mean girls. So that happened and everything like that there. Guys, I finally got a chance to see my niece. Oh, and she is dreamy. It's been a while since I done been around the babies, like the little itty baby. She was only a week old, and I was disappointed that it even took me that long. But, more rain, and I was sick and all that other stuff. So I finally got to see her, and she's much tinier in person. And shout out to my baby niece. Hey, girl. So that happened, and guys, I'm in the midst of like redecorating, and it's stupid, right? Like, how come everything can't come already here and together, so that I can just put it where it needs to go, and then you got to try stuff out. Like, I'm over it. .com, .org, because that's when they got money. I'm just over it, okay? And what else? Anybody else tired? I am tired. I'm real tired. Look how tired I am. I forgot to give y'all eyebrows. Y'all just got these tiny little things, but hey, I'm being natural. Okay. This week is just kicking my ass though, like, for real. I'm over it. And y'all know in just a very couple of, short weeks, the time gonna go back, and it's gonna be dark when we get up in the morning. It's gonna be dark when we get out of work. Like, it's gonna be dark. That my seasonal affect disorder, not happy about it. Okay. All right. But I got to get back out and walking. And P.S. school is kicking my ass. I'm over it. .com. Like, I'm telling you, I'm 2 seconds from quitting. I just can't take it anymore. But anyway, let's cut to the chase. Let's get into it. Enough about me. So, last week we talked about how to fight in relationships, right? Because a lot of times we don't know how, like, no one ever sat us down. So that was the reason why we discussed that. And we talked about different styles of conflict and fighting styles. And then we discussed the do's and the don'ts of fighting. So this week, we're going to talk a little bit about the sex. I said it, sex, sex. I was minding my good business, and my brother, who is starting to be like, he's starting to get on my nerves. Like, he might be a follower of Kevin Samuels, and I'm just not going to have it. Like, I don't know what happened in his older age, but I'm not here for it. So he sent me this, meme, reel, whatever, and this guy was talking about he tried to have sex with his wife 365 times, and of the 365 times, he was only successful 36 times, and she gave a myriad of reasons as to why. She had a headache, it was too hot, it was too cold, she had a toothache, the cat would get jealous, people will hear, his mom will hear, like, she had all of the reasons. And then I was minding my good business, scrolling on the internet and on the social media, and I saw a conversation. I think a guy had asked, like, what's he supposed to do when his woman doesn't want to have the sex? And this woman was trying to explain, like, all the things that women go through, and maybe that's why, you know, she don't want to have the sex. And he wasn't really interested in that. And so I just took that as a sign. I don't know, call it not a sign, but I just figured that's what we talk about this week. So that's what we're talking about. I didn't get a quote, so my bad. I'm telling you, I told you this week is hard. Y'all ain't get no eyebrows and no quote. Damn it, man. But listen, don't worry about that. We'll give you a quote next time. So, in talking, about sex, I thought I'd give a brief history about the way that science has understood, sex, right? So, Masters and Johnson say it's a 4-part situation. They say that there is arousal, plateau, orgasm, and refractory. And that came out in the 1960s. They were like, listen. This is how the sex goes. And they said it's linear, right? It goes from one step to the next step, to the next step, to the next step. There are 4 steps. So desire that you just, and so at this time they're operating with spontaneous desire, right? Like, ooh, I see you, and now I want to jump your bones. So there's arousal, and then plateau, you get to the do, and then you have the orgasm, and then there's recovery. They say refractory, but like there's recovery, time to, you know, reset, and then they say it could start all over again that way again. Remember, linear. Mm-hmm. So then in 1979, a woman came along and was like, nah, like there's more to that, right? So she added, and she said, desire. She said that is the big part. Desire is the biggest part of having the sex. And she says, so desire is the key part, and then there's arousal, right? Then there's orgasm, and then there is recovery. So those are her 4 steps. And again, she said it's linear, right? So she just built upon what was already discussed. And so then Bassan came along in the 2000s, and she said, yeah. I hear all that. And she said, it's not linear. She said, it's circular. So she says that testosterone is a key factor for men. She said, listen, guys, okay? It makes it more biological for men. That's what she said, right? And so she's saying, well, and it's not so much that for women. She said it's more mental for women. That's what her studies showed her. And so she says there's intimacy, then there's stimuli, then arousal, desire, and satisfaction. Right. And so for her, she's not even saying that there's necessarily orgasm. She's saying, like, you can have sex, and that can be for intimacy, that can be for physical pleasure, but not necessarily that during sex you have to have orgasm in order for it to be enjoyable. She's saying that's more about the relationship, right, what you're trying to achieve. And so that's where she's at. So then there came a little bit greater research, right? And so they say there's a 2-part system. So they're saying that there's the sexual excitation system. And then there's the sexual inhibitory system. I can't talk today. Sexual inhibitory system. So what she's saying is that 2 parts, right? And they're saying it is physical as well as mental. And they're saying that the excitation system, that's the gas. Let's go, baby. Let's do this. And that the inhibitory system says, whoa, Not really, okay? And so what they are explaining is that the brain interprets what it sees, hears, smells, touches, tastes, think, believe, and imagine about sex, right? However, that's the excitation. So we can get excited about all of these things. Like when I just think about, the goodness of my partner, then, here, come on, right? However, what they also say in that system is that there are things that can also inhibit that, right? So it can be stress. It can be physical. Is the door locked? Am I afraid that someone's going to walk in? So like some of the excuses that the woman gave to her husband when we talked about earlier, those very well can be, all things that make me go, not really, right? Like I'm worried about a lot of other things. I'm in here and I'm worried about those things. And some of those things can be external factors. And so they gave an example of tickling, and they said, think about it, right? Like when everything is right, when the mood is light, when, I'm totally relaxed, we're in tune, having the best time of our lives, tickling can be like a really enjoyable thing. There can be lots of laughter, right? And it even, it feels good, funny, whatever you want to say it. You don't mind it. But if you are in a bad mood, if you're stressed, if shit ain't right between us, don't touch me, right? And so you tickling me, and now I'm going to be annoyed. And now, like, what you doing, right? So when thinking about sex in that way with your partner, yes, you are going to have to stimulate both the mind and the body. And now we know, again, coming from the place that men, testosterone is a big factor, and that it can be just biological and physical for men, not so much for women. So what happens if you are in a relationship and you guys are having incompatibility about the sex and how much of the sex and how often of the sex that you should have? First of all, right, like we should talk about what does therapists, science say a sexless relationship is. And so they say that if you don't have sex for at least 1 month, at minimum, you don't have sex for 1 month, during the course of a 6-month period, there's no sex, right? They're saying that then is considered a sexless relationship. And now it's time to talk about what that issue is. And so those are the things, right? Like if you've noticed that there's a problem, you got to talk about it. And you can't just, well, she should know. And, I want her and I'm pulling on her and so on and so forth. Or I'm giving him all the excuses, like, or him or her, whatever, situation you're in. Well, we've got to be able to discuss that. And so how do we do that? You have to create a very safe space in order to have these conversations. And let's be honest, like it's hard. And for some people, I've had people tell me like it's easier for me to sleep with somebody, to have sex with them, than it is for me to open up and talk to them. Right. And I know it's like, how can that be? But it's possible because having to talk about it is really sensitive and you're in a really vulnerable place, right? Like, because now we're talking, this is personal and I can't get around that. You know what I'm saying? So, number one, in thinking about what's going on with your partner, right? How do they feel physically? You know what I mean? And it's one thing like after you have a baby, let's say, or have you recently gained weight? Maybe you're stressed, maybe you've been on medication, whatever the case may be. If in my mind, I'm saying to my, like, I just really don't feel good about myself, that's going to pose a problem. I'm not turned on. Don't want to do it. Not interested in it. And maybe I haven't conveyed that to you. Or when I say that to you, you're like, oh, baby, you look good. I get that you think that I still look good, but I have to feel good about the way that I look, right? Even when the lights are off. Because again, now we've talked about women, we are in our head, and like for sure, the mind has to connect with the body. And if that's off, it's a wrap for us. I'm just here to tell you, as a woman in my 40s, like all the things got to be right. And especially with me, I got to feel like things are, right. So another thing is, Has your partner been telling you that they need something, not physical from you? Do I need more help with things around the house, with the kids or whatever? Like, I have to be able to share that with you, and I need you to be able to hear me. And both parties have to be open. Like, in before you go into the conversation, I would say, like, listen, we're gonna approach this is the safest place possible. And even when I hear something that I don't like, I'm gonna breathe through it. And it's okay to say, wow, that hurts. That's uncomfortable. You just have to get really, open about being able to discuss having this conversation. So you've got to create the boundaries so that you both feel safe having the conversation. And here's the thing, is the sex good, right? Because listen, especially for couples that have been together a long time, we may have been together for a really long time, and it can change. What was pleasing to me in my 20s may not be pleasing to me in my 30s. What you did for me in my 20s may not be the shit when I'm in my 40s. I may be bored. I may need you to spice it up. Are you ready to hear that, right? Because sometimes there's that part of the conversation. If, again, we've talked about now, if sex isn't enjoyable for the partner, especially for women, they tend to not want to do it. So are you pleasing her? And can you hear that? That really, so I would say, like, let's make sure before we go into this conversation that we're like really okay with what's going to be said. And also knowing that having the conversation, that is the first step to making it better. And you can come out on the other side. So again, right? Like, it's okay to hear what your partner has to say about you. And your partner may say, I'm not physically attracted to you anymore. You got to be willing to hear that. And now we've got to talk about, okay, again, what do you need from me? What do you need me to do? So those are some of the conversations that need to take place. Are you stressed about things that have nothing to do with the relationship, right? Has there been a death in the family? Are you worried about the finances? Does the car need to be fixed? Things of that nature that can have nothing to do with the relationship, but it can have everything to do with that individual. And so you have to make space for them to share that things are going on, right? Like, men have lots of stresses too, because there are some men who are not interested in the sex for various reasons, right? And so women, we also have to be open to hearing that and supporting our partner, supporting our partner and giving them what they need and the space for them to be able to share that. Okay. Because, sometimes men, they want to be providers, protectors, right? And if they can't, leaders, and if they can't do that, they can't be that, that can weigh on them psychologically as well. And if they are feeling some type of way in here, that can absolutely affect the way in which they show up in the bedroom. Okay, great. So now we've talked about what actually is going on, right? Like, how we got to understanding sex and why some people want it more than others, right? So now we've got to talk about, like, how can we get the spark back? What's going on here? Okay, so after we've discussed that there is a problem and that there is a disconnect, I want more sex, I want less sex, like, we've got to come to some common ground. Here's what we can do. We can try relaxation methods, right? Like, we've got to get to a place, again, arousal, right? We've got to get there. Desire. We need to stimulate, the mind, right? As well as the body. So sometimes that can be, let's meditate. Let's lay in the bed. Like, let's just deep breathe together. Like, let's calm, the nervous system. That can be helpful. Okay. So we can try that. We can try massages, and not massages that, ends up with you only, rubbing on my back for 2 minutes. And then next thing I know, your hand is on my booty. Like, not that kind of massage. Like, let's really try to actually have physical touch that doesn't necessarily end in sex. Like, let's try just connecting. All right, now, someone says, my husband is 13 years older than me, and it has to be a discussion and a level playing field. They said 8 years has not been easy. Of course. Thank you for sharing so much. Yeah, it's hard. You know what I'm saying? Especially for couples that have been together for an extended period of time. And I'll talk about it a little bit later, but here's the part. Do not get in this, well, it used to work for you before, because like I said, so many things have changed. Did we have kids before? Do we have kids now? You know what I mean? And sometimes, like, I come out here and I share when certain relationships, again, I just wanted to be with this person. I wanted to spend time with them. So the carrot that I dangled was sex. I dangled it like, hey, you want to come over here? You can have this, right? I was looking for connection and time spent, but I thought that that's what I needed in order to get them. And now, right, like if I have them or I had them, times changed and I'm old. Like, I ain't got time. Like, what? I got you now. I'm connected. We're connected. I like spending the time. I'm not really interested in this physical stuff, but that's also something that we, right, have to discuss. And I can say like, okay, yep, that was before. 'Cause y'all know we meet and we show up with our representative, and my representative, absolutely dangled that carrot. I'm sorry. You right, sis. I'm not old. I'm just getting better. No, but just being long-term in the relationship, the thing that I dangled, I ain't got to I'm not dangling. I ain't got it in me, because there are so many other things going on. You know what I'm saying? So again, can we do massages? Can we do baths? Naked cuddling. Naked cuddling is the best. Like, can we just get back sometimes to old school, you know what I'm saying? Like makeout sessions. Not with the expectation of sex, right? Like, because we're trying to really just connect in physical touch, right? And get the desire and get that engine, revved up and going. You know what I'm saying? How about sexy text messages and notes throughout the day? Because again, we've got to rev this engine. And that's the thing. It's not like, ooh, I lay eyes on you and now I want to get with you. It is also about just slow and steady winning the race, right? Like having a slow fire burn so that it doesn't burn out, and so that we can store some of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, my man, he just loved me so much, and he sends me, and I say man because I'm a woman, so I'm just talking about, from my experience. But it could be, like, oh, my woman, when I just think about her, you know what I'm saying? Or this lovely thing that they did, or, oh, they're thinking about me, things of that nature. Like, it goes far in relationships. So you've also, we talk about this, and that guy is racist, but we're not going to talk about that. Your love languages, but we're really just trying to connect. So all of those things. And also, like, are you willing to try new stuff in the bedroom to, spice it up and give amazing experiences? Because listen, you got to get creative, and there are tons of things to be creative and get creative. And let me tell you something. Don't be afraid to have the conversation. I go to the store and I want to know. I get the things and I'm like, ooh, this one says this one says that. Like, which one you think is better? Listen, you got to do what you got to do, right? You got to be open to this. And I'll say this, I know, right? Sometimes I'm out here and people are like, sure, you say that? Yes, because all of these things are normal. Like having these conversations, right? They're important. And what do you do? Sometimes our friends don't always give us the best advice when these topics come up. You know what I'm saying? I could tell you again from all the podcasts that I see, it's like, yeah, if she ain't doing this, then leave her. What? Why are we there? There's so many different steps between that. You know what I'm saying? So someone says, Her and her husband don't text, they call each other. Love language is very important. I love that. Exactly. And knowing what works for you guys, right? Super duper important. Super duper important. Because what works for me may not work for you. What works for you may not work for me. And listen, let's just try it all out. Let's just see, right? Because that's the key to longevity in the relationship. And also, you gotta talk. Is there something you'd be interested in trying? Is there something you've always wanted to try? And not threesomes. Unless, that's something that y'all are into. But if you're already having situations about sex, do not talk about threesomes. That's never going to make a relationship better, okay? Because threesomes, you have to have lots of trust and a billion percent more of communication. Like, you got to be open, honest. Like, you got all the time. You got to be checking in all of the time. So that's not something that I would recommend, okay? In this stage. But if y'all are good and solid and you're not having any issues, then listen, hey, do your thing, okay? Whatever floats your boat, and I'm open to all of it, okay? Great. And so, yeah, you got to get creative. And again, and try some different stuff, right? Like, they have all kinds of stuff. Do a boudoir photo shoot. Like, that's real, sexy and whatnot. And you have something to always remember, that time and that space that you were in, right? And sometimes just having it, people have their couples boudoir photo shoots in their bedroom. Like, it's super sexy and whatnot. Love that. Body painting. Like, you gotta, try some things out. And what the hell? Like, this is your person. You've decided that for the time being, this is your person. So you gotta be able to be open, honest, silly, all the things, and see them in all phases, right? In all seasons of y'all's lives together. And so again, if all else fails, right? Which y'all, you know what I'm gonna say? Go to therapy. Take y'all asses to therapy, right? There's nothing wrong with that. And so I was having a conversation with someone and I had suggested therapy, couples therapy, and they were like, we're not there yet. And I was like, listen, but every 3,000 miles or 6, depending on your car, you take your car in for oil change. That's what therapy is. Sometimes it could just be a check-in because sometimes you come to an impasse and you need somebody objective who doesn't have any motives in your relationship to really help you and who is qualified. Y'all, I was minding my good business and I was watching this, I'm gonna go left, but I'm gonna come back right. And I was watching this documentary and they called Soul Twin Flame University. And this couple decided that they were going to start a university. So they're like life coaches or spiritual coaches or whatever. And y'all, they wild as hell. You hear me? Wild as hell. And they can't help nobody. You hear me? Mind you, they got 40,000 members. I was like, you know what? I'm too through with this. I cannot. They've not helped anybody. And some of the stuff that they were telling people was horrible. So I would suggest that you talk to someone who is qualified. And when talking about sex, like, you have to make sure that people are comfortable. Like, your therapist, your chosen person is comfortable. And you don't want somebody that's going to impart their belief systems onto you, right? Because again, like I said, threesomes, some people believe in polyamory. And let me tell you something, I ain't got me not a problem with it. Whatever works for you, as long as y'all not hurting nobody, y'all not hurting each other, y'all not hurting anybody else, go for it. Do whatever you want. Have everybody in there. You hear what I'm saying? And polyamory isn't just about sex, PS. So make sure that the person is qualified. That's where I'm coming back, right? Make sure that the person is qualified. Just because they have life coach and they have X number of clients, you just have to make sure that they align with you and your belief system. Okay, all right, great. And so that's right, if you're grown, all consenting, all goes. Absolutely. And I said that, but I'm saying, because this hair, this hair is big. It's on my nerves too. It's hot. I ain't got time, but my hair under here is atrocious and I just don't have the energy to do it. Anybody want to do my hair? Okay, thanks, I'll pay. Anyhow, so all of those things, and again, right, a life coach. I'm a life coach, and y'all can come around here and y'all can talk to me, and it's a safe space, promise. Do you think the majority of men like toys? I hate to generalize, but I do think some men feel that toys, what's the word? I feel like it makes them uncomfortable, right? And maybe they feel less than, because then it's like, if I can't please her, why does she need this toy? But I think that, again, I think it's important to say, hey, right, I'm interested in trying this and it could be really awesome. Like, let's just give it a whirl. Intimidated, right? Like, I think that they insecure. I think sometimes it could bring about insecurity, because does that say I'm not enough for her? And let me tell you, sometimes y'all ain't. Damn. Like, you know what I'm saying? Let me tell you something. Like, we just gonna have the real conversation. Like, not everybody knows how to work the equipment that they got. And I hear a lot of dudes, you know, they're like, well, I ain't never had no complaints before. Women lie. Like, let's just be very clear. Women lie. And also, right, I'm not going to leave the women out. We don't have anything special. We all have the same thing. Mine no more special than the other one. I promise you. You know what I'm saying? Sexy Red done told us what it is. You know what I'm saying? Hers is pink. Everybody's is pink. You understand? Like, so, and lube is the great equalizer. Okay. All right. Everybody's is wet. You hear me? All right. So someone says women are intimidated by porn and men are intimidated by toys. You think women are intimidated by porn? It could be, right? Like, sure. I'm just, I don't know how it sets the mood. I'm not, y'all loud for no reason. Like, I'm not, and that's not the real world anyway. Like, don't come over here with that rabbit. Not interested in that. Thank you. Get it away from here. Thanks. So, but I do, you know what? I will say, I do know a lot of women that are, really into that are more open to the porn, right? And because it's so accessible. I think before you had to pay for it. Someone might know, but I think you're able to be a little bit more discreet about it because it's so accessible, because it's on your phone and things of that nature. I think that's why I think maybe more women are open to it. And again, we're just being a little bit more open about the fact that it happens. Like, everybody does it. You know what I'm saying? That's how we got here. Our parents did it. You know what I'm saying? That's how we got our kids. We did it. So, I think it's becoming less taboo to talk about it. But I think if that's something that for people, if you'd like to explore that, please get out there and talk to your spouse, or maybe just go. Again, I told you, I'm a fan of going to the store and asking the questions. Go to the store, ask the questions, and bring it home. Right? And go, hey babe, like, I've got this thing. And like Candy, from the Real Housewives, listen, I, love that, she's very open. And I think that I hate that the women try and shame her for being comfortable in herself, in her sexuality. She's like, yeah, like, I'm open to whatever. So, and she started a business, and I love that for her. And there are a lot of women, and listen, I'm a girl's girl. I know a lot of women ain't interested in the stuff. So I think that, I think it's a good thing. I think, like, we should be open to talking about it a little bit more. Because it could be helpful. Like, some of the ways that my worldview, right? Like, just talking and sharing, and people are going like, yeah, me too. Or, oh, I've not done this. So it's just eye-opening. So I think, like, get with your good girlfriends and, like, let's chat it up, So here are the things, though, not to do. Okay. Do not blame your partner because they're not into sex the way that you are. Like, that's bad business. Don't do that. That's not going to help. That's going to make the matters far worse. I assure you. Do not threaten to get it from someplace else. Well, if I don't get it from you, I'm going to go over here and get it from someone else. Flag on the play. Last week we talked about how to fight. That is a surefire way to lead to a fight and possibly a separation. Because who feels good with that? And, right, like, you got to know your audience. I'm someone, if you hit me with the like, or else I might, let's go then. Like, balls to the wall. And that's not always good, but you gotta know your audience. Don't do that. That's not helpful. Don't shame them either, right? Like, that's not good either. Well, you used to do this and you used to do that. Yeah, well, hell, you used to do this and I used to be 120 pounds and mama ain't now, okay? I don't want to hear about what I used to do. We're not there anymore. We're here. You know what I'm saying? We are here right now, right here. So I think that that's also important. And please, for the love of God, do not compare them to anyone else. Well, you know, when I was with so-and-so, you might die. Like you, nope. Boo, don't do that. Don't try that. That is not good. Okay? All right. So, what have we talked about today? We have talked about the fact that we know that sex has been studied now, right? Like they've actually since the 60s and discussed like how it happens and the way in which it happens, right? So they talked about arousal, desire, plateau, orgasm, refractory. Like we know, and they used to think of it as linear, and it's no longer linear. They know that it is circular. They understand that testosterone is a big player for men, and that it can be physical for men, and that it's more mental for women. But we do understand that both the mind and the body need to connect in order to have like the best time ever. And there are a couple of ways to get there. One, we've got to know that there's a problem. If there is a problem, we have to be able to establish a very safe space in order to talk about it, to talk about there being a problem and how to fix it. And sometimes we might not know in the moment, but it's just important that we address it, that we address our feelings, right? And we don't want anyone in the relationship to feel bad because they can't. You know what I'm saying? There was a time I could tell you for myself, like after I'd had my last child, like I just was not interested, and I wanted to be interested, but I just wasn't. I just couldn't. And I went to my doctor like, hey doc, let's talk about this. And we discussed different things. I discussed that with my with my OB, but that's what it was. That's the only place I felt like I could go. Certainly I was much younger then, but that really was the case. You know, again, it wasn't about not wanting to. I wanted to, right? I just couldn't. There was a disconnect somewhere, and we had to address that. And I'll also tell you, there are things that you can do. There are, you know, pills and different things that can put you in the mood, that can help to put you in the mood. It can help to bring blood flow to, you know, your vagina or your penis, and to help in that way, right? So that it can be a physical thing. We know that sex doesn't necessarily, you can still have good sex and not have orgasm, because it is about intimacy and sometimes just physical satisfaction. And you can have physical satisfaction without an orgasm during the sex. So we talked about that. We talked about what to do, right? We talked about that, you know, you can try relaxation methods, you can try massages, naked cuddling, right? You can ask if there's something that you'd like, that they'd like to try, that you want to try. You could discuss that. We discussed toys, right? And porn. And we talked about what not to do. Not blame, not threaten, not shame, and not compare them to anyone else. Hey, my cousin joined. Hey. So we talked about all of those things. And again, last but not least, if anyone is having trouble with this, they don't feel comfortable discussing it with anyone else, and they want someone that they can talk to, holla at your girl. You can slide into my DM, and also SherelleEvansTillery.com. all one word, and we can set a time that maybe we can chit and chat. There's always therapy as well. All right, guys. So you know what? We have a request. So next week we are talking about my time in a cult. And I know everybody's like, Sherelle, you always say you were in a cult, because I was. Okay, being serious. But it just is what it is. And so someone had some questions about it. So that's what we're going to discuss. So we'll be discussing cults next week. And yes, it's very easy to find yourself in one. Okay, all right. You guys, I hope that you have a fantastic rest of the week. I'm going to try to get caught up and get some rest. Pray for me, y'all, because I love being outside. It's mystical and magical, but yet it like, it zaps me sometimes because I got real world stuff I got to do. I don't know. Anywho, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And I love that you guys tuned in and you actually shared. So thank you, thank you, thank you. I adore you. And I'll see you guys next week. Thanks. Bye. Uh-oh, thought I finished.